Mr. Charles Darwin, famed naturalist, is enjoying his meal, minding his own business at home in Shrewsbury. It's a summer's evening. The room overlooks the rear garden, a lawned expanse with a strangely familiar apple tree, in which some finches sit idly reading the Tatler. Darwin's acute senses become aware of the approaching crunch of a hobnailed boot along the gravel drive, upon which is being lowered a mini digger. There is a pause between a heavy knock occurs on the front door. Before a heavy knock occurs on the front door, followed by the bell. Darwin pushes his eating irons into his mash and rises abruptly. His wife wisely ignores the whole event. She has learned much during her time on Earth, and ignoring it is probably for the best. And she too prefers warm food. Mr. Darwin opens the door to the sight of an individual fumbling with a pen, a clipboard, and a bundle of papers in differing pastel shades that sadly remind him of the fashions of the 1980s. The man is dressed in the manner of the former chimney sweep Dick Van Dyke, plus accent. Darwin continues to masticate, unwilling to relinquish savouring his new pastime through this impertinence. Hoping the interruption will be brief, he is still chewing as he begins to speak. His napkin, a free gift included in the Royal Society's Christmas hamper, is still tucked in his collar. It is emblazoned with their crest, resembling two crossed newts on a Boxing Day.
Yes, what can I do for you, my good fat man?
Have I interrupted you, sir? Were you eating?
You have, and I am, as you can see. Now get on with it. The beef will be cold soon. Can't abide cold meats. Reminds me of my time at sea. Awful cook. Left him to some island to evolve and appreciate the moderate use of fire in the preparation of food. Waste of opposable thumbs, that man.
He twiddles both thumbs at the digger man. Mr. Darwin continues to finish chewing his evidently enjoyable meal.
I have the mechanical digger for you.
What a mechanical digger?
A digger ordered for this address, for digging, like, sir.
Ernest Heffingway fiddles with his clipboard and thumbs through the pages.
Never ordered it. I ordered the wife to order. Wife does the ordering. Wife questions the order. Not wise to argue.
Definitely ordered for you, Mr. Darwin. Address is correct. Marvellous digger, sir. Honestly, marvellous. Made many a big hole with it.
Now look, I didn't order it and I don't want a digger here. It's not convenient and it's almost time for pudding.
Well, it's all paid for, sir. All down here. Yes, sir.
I can't understand it. I haven't made any instruction for such a thing. I've not seen a specimen like that before, and my wife certainly.
There is more fluffing from Ernest Heffingway through his documents.
It's down here somewhere, sir, and I'm sure it was a female name.
He continues to fumble through papers, unaware of the approaching footsteps of a young lady in dungarees, a t-shirt with a partly covered logo. She wears a marquee-type cap and has battered red shoes. Darwin watches the increasingly frustrating performance that Ernest Heffingway has with his thick pile of papers and fails to notice the girl approach. I ordered it, breezily confident with military anticipating no challenge. It's a diesel mini digger, Mr. Darwin. Twin turbo model. Takes the slog out of burrowing. Ernest Heffingway is absorbed in his paperwork, even though she is now stood there, talking to himself, whispering loudly, unaware no one is listening.
Name's in here somewhere, must be. Paperwork was filled in, can't be wrong. Paperwork's never wrong.
You ordered it. And who are you, and what business do you have taken such liberty? I've not ordered any work here.
Increasingly short-tempered and high-handed. We've come to uncover the extent of the digging you've started, Mr. Darwin. Matter-of-fact, buoyant and enthusiastic.
This is my garden, my piece of Eden. I don't dig around in it. I want it left as it is.
When you spread your little rubble piles around, Mr. Darwin, you started a dig that the worms are still dealing with, unseen.
What? That is an experiment. What are you talking about? Or what business is it of yours?
All this while, Ernest Heffingway has been going through his pile of paperwork in an animated fashion. He finds the sheet he needs and raises it high in the air with triumph.
Aha! Got it! Got it.
I'm a fan, Mr. Darwin, but, well, I've come to show you what happens when you go around dropping big experimental ideas here, there and everywhere when some creatures aren't quite ready for their impact. Points around.
But the experiment is not finished.
Is it any ever really finished, Mr. Darwin?
No, I suppose not. No, just wait a minute. I asked you before. Just who are you and what are you doing here?
She's...
Miss Darwin! She walks off breezily. The others do not realise what she's about to do. Darwin is distracted by paperwork. I'm the future of your impact on the Earth. Ooh, that's not helpful.
Miss Darwin. See?
He shows Charles Darwin the paper.
Just like it says here.
He points to her signature.
You what?
Hang on there, sir. You got a permit to dig here, Mr. Darwin. You need a permit.
Hal holds his clipboard and tick sheet and points at it with his pen. Think of me as Mother Earth's future child, of the times you helped form. She has swung herself confidently into the seat of the digger and nods at him as she starts the engine.
Just having quite lunch.
Hand to forehead, dazed a bit.
Permit, sir?
A what? What? Look, why would I need a permit to dig in my own garden? Who has the authority to give me the permission to do what I want in my own inn?
So you do want to dig then?
No, that's not what I meant. You're twisting.
To Miss Darwin, who starts the mini digger and drives it alongside the Darwin in a heavy way.
Look, where are you going with that?
Shouting excitedly over the noise of the machine, she presses the horn for emphasis, with much arm waving and leg kicking with moderate head banging at the wheel. Round to the worms! Parp! Round to the worms! Parp! Mr. Darwin is left on his drive, still attempting to digest both his meal and the arrival of these two unusual specimens. Interrupting and shouting over Mrs. Darwin round to the worm's speech.
Permit to work rules, Mr. Darwin. You must have had them when you were at sea.
Exasperated and turning head rapidly one to the other.
What's that got to do with my garden?
To Miss Darwin as she begins to disappear out of sight. Concentrating now on her objective.
You go! Get out of that machine this instant! You get that excavating thing out of my garden and back to your yard.
Can't take it back, sir. Procedure, see? It's booked out for a period of time and then, well, it will be gone and off, sir. Just like her.
He points to the disappearing Miss Darwin.
Boulder Dutch! Catch her! Quick! Go on! Quick, man!
Beginning to crack, childlike.
I don't want a great big hole in my garden!
All right, sir. Calm down. Don't want any ticker trouble, do we, sir? Blimey, what a palaver.
Ernest Heffingway runs in a manly fashion as if he has a broom up his dungarees in chase, but manages to run backwards on occasion on the spot. Charles Darwin appears beside him and amazingly they make it to the pit side together. Miss Darwin has begun her excavations.
Stop that! Stop that! Stop digging that hole! It's a potential death trap! You're spreading material and creatures all over the place where they shouldn't be!
A large mound is building where Miss Darwin drops the full buckets.
It's big enough to be a mastodon trap! Stop it!
You're a Cro-Magnon then, sir?
Not really listening to Ernest Heffingway.
No, I was a Unitarian.
You're not a believer then, sir?
What? Oh, I was a, God is in nature's work.
He sounds uncertain, is still distracted. But searching for answers always opens a can of worms. Isn't that right, Mr. Darwin?
I'm merely trying to add to the perpetual mound of reasoned knowledge that mankind must build in order that it might perpetuate its success.
Still more interested in the whole than it's in fully engaging with the others. The bigger the mound of knowledge seems to get Mr. Darwin, the more holes we seem to be finding. Is that success, or are the holes unravelling for us all to fall into? Trying to impress herself on the master of science.
Holes? Look at it! It's not a lawn anymore, it's a black hole!
Wormhole, you mean, sir?
Helpful, but failing the scientist in his own path now. Literally and metaphorically.
The small holes in the big holes are. The small holes in the big holes are. Miss, will you please stop digging?
He's inspecting something in the pit. His tone has changed to that of someone controlling an excavation. We need to see how worms get along when you put obstacles in their path, Mr. Darwin. He is now concentrating on the pit, its sides and bottom.
That is quite a massive pit, you know.
Miss Darwin takes another bucket full of soil and there is a sound of a mass of tiny voices shouting, followed by a canny voice.
Canny voice.
Lambton Wen is unseen at this point. He shouts in a whisper of decision as he takes the front line in the fight against the intrusion.
All right, lads, calm down. I'll sort him. Yous can all get along. Same thing. His head appears from a hole and extends periscope-like above the pit side. He rotates, and then on seeing the digger, his mouth opens wide in consternation. Crikey! It's not Moore's ferret in a boot at all, man! It's him! Leg it, lads, leg it! Scuffling noises and general discontent from the multitude is shouted back at him. All right, I know. Then put a bloody wriggle on!
He glares at Darwin.
You!
He gives him a piercing stare and tries to disappear down his hole in a tactical retreat. Darwin jumps into the pit after him, grabbing the fleeing rear of this new specimen.
Get off me tail, you vertebrate swine, you! Get off, get off! Crikey, your hands are warm! You should be a doctor!
Darwin pulls hard and falls on his behind. The worm ends up sat on his chest. Worm looks into Darwin's eyes.
Art thou a worm?
Do I look like an elk?
What a specimen!
That's what me mum used to say.
You must be catalogued.
I wasn't a few when I was a model. Put a bit of weight on since then, though. Now let go.
He bustles to try and move and talks. Turns into a Yorkshireman.
A new species of worm. Here, in Shrewsbury. I need a bottle and some labels.
Darwin is delirious with discovery.
I could do with a bottle myself. Red label,
right.
Is it?
No, a specimen jar.
Well, you are the doctor.
This creature needs labelling before someone else gets to it.
You're getting to me. I already have a label, mate. The name's Worm. Lambton Worm.
Megalumbriskiformis Darwina va Lambtonia.
I'm glad you said that in italics. Darwin's big worm.
He looks at Miss D.
Not another one that likes changing people's names.
Sadly, yes. Like most successful scientists, it may have been a woman that did the spade work, but he'll stick his name on it faster than a borough council parking attendant.
What below the earth is going on here?
Well, I'm a naturalist. And my little Eden here has just been excuse me, invaded by this mechanical monstrosity. Beyond that, I'm as much in the dark as you.
I didn't invent the darkness I'm in, mate. You with the digger. What's the scuttlebutt?
We're digging this hole to find out what happens when you watch a worm in earnest.
Eh? Eh? Well, that cleared that up. Now, kindly get rid of that rubble and fill the hole in. We've had enough.
Mr. Darwin didn't know what his impact on the ground would be. I came to try to demonstrate.
So it was him. Let go, you swine.
Darwin finally lets go. He stands up and Lambton appears further above the pit. It was Mr. Darwin, but future generations like mine have carried on.
That's what I heard.
What did you hear?
Got a call from lads.
You have a telephonic machine?
Of sorts, yeah.
What lads?
Me mates, garden worms to you, man.
Ridiculous. They can't communicate. They can't hear. No ears.
Depends on the tune that's being played, mate, as to what we respond to. Dial-up or broadband? Dial M for Lambton.
What did they call you for?
I'm a landscape gardener. They're all fed up of the view, wanted a change.
They haven't got a view.
Ooh, listen to vertebrates. How would you know?
I've studied them.
We know. You didn't stop to study what would happen when you go dumping stones in the way, did you?
I had to let the experiment run its course. I hadn't investigated yet because it's ongoing. Or it was until you came along. or rather you, miss, with that thing.
Hey, that's a Mach 4 diesel twin-turbo earth shifter, ECC1701. Fully independent suspension and drive to all four wheels with independent four-wheel drive in 6 ratios. It has a titanium 6-tooth bucket too. Alternative colours are available. This just happens to be the Gentian Violet model. I didn't pick the colour, known affectionately as the Sodbuster, not the thing.
I do apologise. Now, if I may continue.
Certainly.
Go away, the lot of you.
Lambton Worm is closing with Darwin all this while.
Not until you shift those rocks. We can't get about like we used to. There's been lots of injuries.
Results of my experiments, I see. I must make notes. Wait, pad, pencil. Yes, go on. What to exactly?
Lot of front end damage.
And the rear?
Only during a major reversal of luck. Been close a few times myself, though.
And this particular form of damage, precisely why is it occurring?
We can't see down there. A mate of mine puts lighting in. I
can't see what?
Lambton is shouting nose to nose with Darwin now, who is still trying to make notes in spite of Lambton Worm's increasing anger, represented by a changing colour from pastel puce through to livid red.
The stones in the tunnels! Crikey! The stones you dropped in our tunnels! Subsoil calling Earth's surface! Hazardous obstruction!
No need for such rudeness, you know. I'm not deaf. May I also point out that I did not start this digging?
Yes, you did!
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh, be careful, Mr. Darwin, he'll turn you now. Watch out for his false teeth. Cheeky monkey, now everybody knows it's the Waterloo set.
Gnashes then with pride.
And you're going to need your own set too, Beardy. Put 'em up.
A challenge, eh? I will defend my soul to the last.
Charles Darwin flings down his notes and puts up his dukes. His clothes fall away to reveal his fighting garb. He skips his dandy-stockinged legs out in fine athletic style and shadow boxes, readying his steely frame for the struggle to come. The room darkens as the spotlight falls on the two combatants, which has absolutely no effect on the worm, but dazzled Darwin has to cover his eye with one forearm and starts flailing the other arm around to find the side of the pit. As he does so, two spotlighted microphones, as used in the 1930s, announcers drop from ceiling to table with a sofa behind it. There are glasses and a pitcher of water on the table. The scene is now brightly illuminated to reveal Bob Cronkite and Bob Walters, two similarly styled American sports announcers wearing hats with press tickets in and garishly checkered jackets. Quite hideous, in fact. Bob Cronkite is with it dynamic and chirpy. His clothing is markedly more colourful too. Bob Walter has to work with him, but is less crisp and a bit dustier in appearance. Working with BK means BW takes tablets to cope. There is a medicine bottle in front of him. Some are spilled around.
Hi, I'm Bob Cronkite.
BW looks at BK as he says this.
And I'm Bob Waller.
BK looks at BW as he says this.
And we're the pit side.
They both look at audience.
In downtown Shrewsbury.
To see the clash of two mighty opponents in confrontation of the age, eh, Bob?
With the forms these two have, this could either be over in the first round,
or it could drag on for a considerable length of time until both parties are exhausted.
So, without further ado, in the damp corner, left in the shade for too long, and what is that by his side, Bob? Is that a collection of mold, Bob?
It is, Bob. He always brings it down with him on fight nights. Says it reminds him of home.
It's the legless legends of Lamberton Worm!
And in the opposite corner, the bearded bomber, the myth buster himself, the daring, seafaring old experimenter, the battling beagle, Mr. Charles Darwin!
They both look like they're in good form today. For today's confrontation, Bob, a match made in heaven.
Or not, depending on what side you're on, Bob.
There's only one side for a god in a fight, And it's not with the evolutionists, that's for sure.
That's right, Bob. And we have a couple of guests here to help us try and interpret the form this battle will take.
Would you welcome all the way from the place where they banned digging in the beach with the sea, Miss Darwin?
She appears and joins them in a chair.
And a man who likes digging holes so much for himself he now helps others, Mr. Ernest Diggerman Heffingway.
He similarly appears and sits more self-consciously than Mrs. D. Variety of complicated, silly and confused handshakes and good evenings.
So, Miss Darwin, you brought the contender away from his tea for this bout. Do you have any apologies for that?
Absolutely none, Bob. This has been on the cards a long time. We have to see who will come out underneath here, the worms or Darwin.
Darwin's last public appearance at the monkey trial left us all itching to see more. Is that right?
Well, it was quite spectacular, but I'll be a monkey's auntie if I can't get someone to understand that Lambton's as much in danger of becoming extinct as Darwin's endless experimental curiosity. Darwin needs to go back to the origin of
The origins of Lambert Worm.
Turns to camera smugly as informing the viewers of something that they could not know and getting it wrong with no glimmer of realisation. Actually, no, it was on the origin of species. But the book that is the fundamental cause of this trouble is The Formation of the Vegetable Mould Through the Action of Worms.
Fascinating.
Could be overtly interested or bored. You see, it could lead to an increase in the spreading of rubble.
What?
Rubble, chalkstones, pebbles. Well, gardeners like to spread mulch on their plots, and then they used markers such as chalk to plot the progress of the worms in turning the soil over.
And the worms have put in an objection.
They have. There have been quite a lot of broken noses, some concussions, and a few put into neck braces. Not to mention the chipped teeth, the cabbage ears.
They get cabbages too?
He takes some tablets, followed by a quick glass of water. They love cabbage! They drag it down into their holes with them.
Back to the opening bout, Bob. So it's down the tubes for the worm or a right composting for the recreational gardener. Which will it be?
We'll soon see, Bob. Darwin's warming up. The worm is cooling down for the battle between the species. Darwin mocks the worm. The worm's quite deaf to his taunts. Are his ears still evolving?
No, it's just the way they stick out.
The bell goes!
Darwin is quickly out of his corner. The godlike beard flows gracefully as he moves forward, punching the air. The heavy weight of the evolutionary movement is taking his first cautious steps against this mythological mountain of segmentation.
Looking every inch the Victorian patriarch.
Darwin's out to bury the invertebrate contender. Lambton takes it lying down. He's not ready to put a wriggle on this early in the match. He'll soak up punishment and strike just when he feels Darwin's ideas are weakening.
Wormsleepy isn't going to lie down and dry up in this pavement like some pundits thought. He's back and he's bad.
Worm's condition is evident to see. The long, thin, rippling ribbed segments, muscle structure in a slightly off puce. He is simply full of...
Pauses and evidently changes his mind as to which word to use.
Vitality! He weaves like a silkworm, stings like a greenfly. He dodges and makes sinewy thrashing type movements, avoiding the bigger hominid's powerful onslaught.
Darwin is rubbing his beard in contemplation, watching for worms, soft spots, looking for an end to deliver those seismic concepts to the body politic that leave him in total disarray while he saunters back to Shrewsbury for tiffin.
Darwin inspects the side of the pit. He's nonchalant now, deliberately ignoring his opponent, drawing the worm's attention, trying to wrong-foot him.
He doesn't have any feet, Mr. Walter.
Thank you, miss, for that. We needed your expertise there, and boy, we got it.
Now, Bob, no bitterness. They told you that in counselling. Time to move on.
Darwin makes a move. What is that? Something in the pit side.
It's the jawbone of an early hominid. He's taken it out.
Unbelievable! He's used it on the worm. Boy, that must sing. Worm looks confused. Lambton looks around for other evidence of early man in Shrewsbury.
Darwin sees me using the force of argument, reason, and evidence in this battle, Bob.
And Lambton stretches himself to his full extent out, like an extended finger-type worm, pointing to the folly of resistance to the majesty of his legend.
Like a load spring, he compresses, then he springs. He jabs, worm jabs again. Boy, this worm has no heart. He's just a mass of muscle, pounding the dirt day by day. What can Darwin do to stop him? He's goading his opponent, aping on him, aping him on, even.
The mammal seems to be weakening. Whatever his ideas were when he fell into this hole, they are taking a hammer in here. If they've got legs, they may run, but where? Back into the trees?
Lambton has swallowed all the muck he can from the vocal mammal. Worm spits out his false teeth. Darwin, surprised, drops his guard. The worm is working inside now, thrashing and pounding Darwin's heart. He's seemingly not tall enough to work his mind. Darwin leans forward to strike.
Fatal move, Bob. This could extinguish Darwin's chance. He's drawn that furry chin within Worm's reach.
Lambton detects his chance. He reacts. That's it. Worms works his way into Darwin's beard. He's worming against his facial finery. What's that?
He's excavating!
Lambton's excavating with Darwin's beard.
It's a full beard. I mean, that is full, man.
Darwin's beard is absolutely full of mold. It's all over the place. Are they cornflakes, Bob?
Certainly looks that way, Bob.
Darwin slips into the vegetable carpet he's made for himself. Where is the referee? He'll bury Darwin. He's doing it. He is doing. I can't watch. I can't look away. I can't find the words to describe. Worm is all over him. Yuck! How can we watch this at these prices?
He starts to flag with exhaustion and pity.
It's a massacre. Oh, the humanity!
I win. The myth overcomes the man.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, yes, I did.
Didn't.
Do you fancy another go?
Later, maybe. After tipping. Didn't.
Do you fancy another go?
Later, maybe. After tipping.
They both relax and become pals after sharing shared adversity. There's a bit of dusting themselves and each other down.
Like a pint myself. Don't know about you, but I could do to put me tail up.
Lost mine ages ago. My pins are calling for my chair. I suppose the pudding will be cold now. Ah, well.
Forgive me, please, will you both? I didn't intend to cause such an awesome confrontation.
Oh, think nothing of it, my dear. I've been in my chair too long these past few years.
You've a strong left. You're a natural southpaw. Are you a natural southpaw?
No, with my wife, you never know where it's going to come from. How about you?
Oh, I hear 'em coming. Usually they clank while they walk, crusading knights and flaming questing types. But in terms of tactics, I'm pretty much stuck with the Scarborough welcome.
I didn't set out to cause a war.
No one ever does, my dear. We merely slip into that particular pit.
And I attract crusading types all the time, so don't fret any.
Anyway, it's all very well, but what about this hole in my lawn? I can't put up with it. My wife will be furious. What shall we fill it with?
Now look now, sir, but she's at the window, and she is spitting.
Let's fill it with more ideas.
Crusaders. Paperwork.
What's that there?
Points at something in the hole.
What is it?
A radiator cap.
That'll be off a Roman chariot then.
Don't be silly.
An expert can tell, you know. You can construct an entire dinosaur from a kneecap, you know.
This isn't off a chariot, though.
Is it off a dinosaur? No, it's off a Volvo. You can tell all that from one piece when you're an expert. It says Volvo on cap.
Cool.
Cool. I wonder what else there must be down there. How about one more dig, just to see what else there might be?
What do you say, Lambton?
You've started, so you may as well finish.
He shouts into the pit.
All clear, lads!
There is some faint all clear. Okay, just say when. She reactivates the digger and starts to dig deeper.
Go on then, just one more, Miss Darwin. What?
There is a loud explosion and they're blown up into the nearby apple tree, from which falls an apple, ominously.
Me digger! Me best digger, what happened? The gas main happened. Now we've got a bigger hole to fill.
Mrs. Darwin has a primordial lake.
I shouldn't have hid that thing, I'm sorry. I only thought I was trying to help. to search and understand. Help! Help, Mrs. Darwin! Mrs. Darwin, can you bring a ladder? Lambton Worm is surprised by Mrs. Darwin's reply.
What did that gesture mean?
Which one? There were several in rapid succession.
Not one of the... Not the one with the digits. I don't know how to describe it.
It's a form of semaphore. It means 2 sugars or 1 for tipping.
Blimey! No wonder you prefer the birds on Galapagos, Mr. Darwin. What use is a ladder? Tiffin will be cold by the time I evolve legs. Just what have you learnt from this encounter?
As the dusk descends around the tree, a ladder appears among the branches, and Mr. Charles Darwin and Ernest Heffingway make their descent while Miss Darwin wraps Lambton around her neck and begins her descent. One of the finches puts down his copy of the Tatler, removes his glasses and rubs his tired eyes. He looks around and down to the garden where the worms are lying around listening to Chopin on Mrs. Darwin's mechanical piano. Nuts, he thinks to himself. What a time to be a vegetarian. As the night descends, we hear from the dining room the faint chomping of Mr. Darwin and his newfound companions.